Hi, I'm Dr. Marci Koski from Feline Behavior Solutions, and I am so excited to be here for CatCentric's Ask the Expert series. This week, we're going to be talking all about feline aggression. Just a little intro to myself. I am a certified feline behavior and training consultant, and I have my own business, Feline Behavior Solutions, where I help cats and their people resolve behavior issues. And about half of my caseload actually has to do with aggression. And the other half of my caseload, as you may expect, has to do with litter box issues. Sometimes those things go hand in hand, but there are other things that I deal with too occasionally. But aggression and litter box issues are the two most common things. Um, let's see. This week we're going to be talking all about feline aggression. So I thought I'd kick things off with a little primer on the various types of aggression that cats exhibit. It's important to know the difference between different types of aggression because different types of aggression have different ways in which they're going to be resolved, right? So let's get started. The first thing, the first type of aggression I like to describe as fear related aggression. And this is simply triggered by anything that a cat is afraid of. This could be a person, could be a type of person, who wears hats, men, women. This has a lot to do with maybe the way they've been socialized as kittens or bad experiences when they were younger with a different type of person or somebody that they weren't exposed to. Cats can also be afraid of objects or noises or other animals, dogs, cats, whatever. And the way you're going to figure out that this aggression is fear related is by looking at body language in your cat. You may see the pupils dilate, the ears are going to go back into the sides, their tail is going to be tucked under, their body language is going to be down and away from the trigger, and you're definitely going to not want to push this cat into a corner. You're going to be met with growling, hissing, baring of teeth, and then eventually the cat is going to exhibit defensive aggression, which is biting and scratching because they're so afraid of what they're being exposed to that they can see no other way out of the situation, which is really sad. When cats are aggressive towards people, most of the time it's fear related. And a lot of times people don't understand what they're doing that causes that fear, and they just think their cat is being nasty or aggressive for no reason, or it's mean, or it's angry about something. But when it comes down to it, a lot of times it's mostly about fear. So it's really important to pay attention to your cat's body language. There's usually very subtle signs that your cat is not happy about something that some people often overlook. And we're going to be addressing body language a little bit later on, and I can ask questions about body language throughout the week as well. So, in order to treat fear induced aggression, you're really going to want to try to avoid those triggers that cause your cat fear. Of course, that's not always possible. So in that case, you're going to want to work with desensitization and counter conditioning to gradually change the way your cat sees that fearful trigger. So desensitization is all about increasing the exposure very gradually of that fear trigger to your cat. And then couple that with counter conditioning, which is basically pairing something good with something that your cat is afraid of or doesn't like to change the association of that thing. So desensitization paired with counter conditioning is the way to slowly encourage your cat to let go of the fear and also just ignore it over time. This can take time to do with cats. Sometimes it takes a long time, but it's really the best way to bring your cat out of fear and be able to accept a trigger, especially if it's something that you can't manage. The next type of aggression that I want to talk about is play or predatory aggression. And this is when your cat attacks you. This will happen if, like, you're walking by and your cat goes after your ankles, or if you're in bed and your feet are moving under the covers and your cat attacks the bed. It's this play or predatory aggression that causes that. And some of the characteristics of this is, importantly, most of this is silent. So you're not going to hear any growling or hissing from your cat. Your cat is just going to ambush. And this is a sign that your cat is not getting enough playtime, not given enough opportunity to expose the predatory beast within. So definitely increase playtime using wand toys that have lures that resemble realistic prey items. You can be preemptive and say your cat attacks you as people walk down the hall, or attacks people as they walk down the hall. You can toss some ping pong balls or little feathers or those little mice down the hallway so your cat goes after that instead of you. And then you also want to make sure that you're never encouraging play behavior that focuses on your hands or your feet. So wand toys are really great because it keeps the cat away from your hands and your feet. It's further out from your body. And then, of course, you never want to play with your cat using your hands. And I know it's really fun when you have a cat and they're small little kittens and you play with them using their hands, but that can actually develop into a bad habit. So try not to do that if your cat is exhibiting play or predatory aggression. Just really up the playtime, or try to be preemptive and throw little toys out as distractors away from what you're doing. Okay, the next type of aggression is petting induced aggression. Let me say that again. Petting induced aggression. And this happens when, your cat's sitting in your lap, purring, contented, you're petting your cat, and then all of a sudden your cat turns around and bites. This is fairly common, and I think it has to do with a lack of observation, in that you're sitting there, you're enjoying your cat's company, and you're not noticing some subtle signals that your cat might be giving you to tell you that she's kind of done with being petted. Oftentimes this happens when you're petting the lower back area of your cat. Most cats are usually pretty good at being petted around the face, like the cheeks and the head, the ears, the shoulders. But a lot of cats get overly sensitive along their back. Look out for warning signs. Cats are great communicators. It's just humans are kind of lousy at picking up those signals sometimes. So a flicking of the tail is always a good sign. Leaning away, and this could be a very subtle shift in body language, but if your cat starts leaning away just even a little bit, or the ears flatten just a little bit or turn away from you, the pupils might again dilate. If you see any even slight change, it's a good idea just to stop petting and let your cat relax in your lap and just be happy. So definitely stop petting when you see those warning signs. And again, you can also work with desensitization and counter conditioning if your cat is super sensitive to being petted. So what you're going to do is, to desensitize, you're going to start with one stroke along the back, and then you're going to use counter conditioning by giving that cat a treat. Desensitize, 2 strokes, so you're upping the exposure a little bit, and then give another treat, counter conditioning. And you're going to just continue that. But you're going to want to keep an eye on your cat's body language to make sure that your cat is going to end that session on a positive note, because you always want to end on a positive note when you're using desensitization and counter conditioning. Finally, if your cat does attack you because maybe you let the petting session go on a little bit long, what you're going to do is get up and walk away. You're going to ignore that behavior. You're basically going to be a mother cat. You are going to get up and walk away because that's what mother cats do when their kittens bite too hard or start playing too hard. What does she do? She gets up and walks away. She says, "You're not going to get any attention." So that's a good way to also teach your cat that certain types of behavior is not going to be tolerated. You're not going to get anywhere by punishing your cat, even with verbal yelling or anything like that. It just doesn't work with cats. So your best bet is to get up and walk away. Okay. I have a little cheat sheet over here for aggression, so I'm scrolling down it. The next type of aggression I want to talk about is territorial aggression. And this is most intense in male cats that are intact during breeding season, but territorial aggression can be exhibited by both males and females. It can be intensified if there's anxiety in that cat or if there's any fear aggression as well. And it can be exhibited towards cats, other animals, people, objects, locations. So like, cats can be territorial over litter boxes, for example, or over people. And you're basically going to want to be on the lookout for aggressive body language. So aggressive body language by cats is a little bit different than fearful body language by cats. Pupils may actually narrow into a slit, although they can be wide. And when ears go back, they're not off to the side, but they'll often go down, flattened, but to the back. Sorry, that was a bad example. Can't make my hands go like that. And then the tail is not going to be so much tucked under, like a cat who's fearful is going to try to make themselves look small, but or big, depending on the situation. Like the crab walking, that's an attempt to make themselves look bigger. But an aggressive cat is going to be up, piloerect, and then their tail is going to be up, not tucked down between their legs. Maybe not straight up, but it'll be out. And then the body posture is going to be very, very up and forward. So that's very different from a fearful cat. Again, you want to try to limit exposure to that trigger that makes your cat aggressive or territorial. And then if it's territorial aggression towards another cat, I'm going to get back to that when I talk about inner cat aggression. But then if the cat is territorial towards another human, you're going to want to use that desensitization and counter conditioning using exposure gradients. So more and more exposure with time and success so that your cat gets used to either sharing a human or gets used to having another human around that they may be territorial with. So it's a little bit hard to explain. Territorial aggression is one of those things where a few different things can get wrapped up in it, including hormonal aggression. So it's kind of a complicated issue. So you have to kind of tease apart what's happening a little bit more. I work with a lot of clients who have cats that have had redirected aggression, and redirected aggression happens when there's a cat that's exhibiting aggression to either another cat or other humans in the home, but the thing that caused that cat to be aggressive was not that person or that other cat. So this happens a lot of times when you have your cat A, staring at a window, and cat A might see another cat in the yard, and cat A is like, "Oh my God, how dare that cat? That's crazy, but I can't get at this other cat because this window is right there." And then cat B in the home comes by and he's like, "Oh, hey, cat A, what's going on?" And cat A is like, "Rawr," because he's all riled up from seeing this other animal outside. And meanwhile, cat B is just kind of like, "Oh, I don't know what happened." But now, all this aggression that cat A has been feeling has been put onto cat B, and now cat A associates cat B with that aggression that was triggered by something else entirely. Similarly, that aggression can be transferred onto a human. I've had that happen before as well. So this can be, this can be something that apparently came out of nowhere, because a lot of times humans will see their cats just freaking out over each other, and they didn't see the initial thing that caused the aggression in the first place. And this can last hours, or it can even last months. So the best thing to do is immediately separate the cats, and let everybody kind of cool down. And then if it's necessary, you might have to do a slow reintroduction with your cats. And I've found that sometimes during the reintroduction process, the cats will all of a sudden remember each other and go, oh, I remember you. We're best buds. Yeah, it's okay. It's all good. But then I've had other cats go through the reintroduction process, and it's like they have to go all the way to the end. And the relationship is never quite the same. So again, that's redirected aggression, and it's something that happens with cats occasionally. Okay, inner cat aggression is a very broad category, where cats that are familiar with each other are aggressive. So this can be territorial related, fear related, redirected. It can be pain induced, like if two cats are playing and all of a sudden the play gets too rough, and then one cat gets slightly injured, it can cause aggression. And this can also be hormonally related aggression as well. And usually this can be triggered by a number of different things. It can be a single event, it can be changes in the home, social maturation. As cats get older, the relationships can change, and also it can be triggered by medical issues. So if your cat is in pain, what happens when you're in pain? You get kind of grumpy and more easily agitated. This can cause aggression between cats. Or if there's something medically wrong with a cat, your cat may start to smell differently, which could cause another cat in the household to not recognize that cat. That's a possibility as well. So it's always a good idea to, if all of a sudden aggression starts happening in your home, get your cats checked out by a vet just to make sure that everything is okay. To treat inner cat aggression that arises in the home, it's always a good idea to try to reduce resource competition. So having a lot of vertical space can really increase the livable and the usable area in your home by cats. And make sure that they're not competing over resources like food, water, litter boxes, toys, snuggle time with people, that kind of thing. You may have to go through the gradual reintroduction process, where you use scent exposure and then visual exposure, always paired with something good. So again, it's that counter conditioning and desensitization process. And then you always want to reward the heck out of your cats for any positive interaction that they have. This is positive reinforcement. You're giving treats or affection or praise, or play sessions as a result of good behavior, so that that behavior is repeated. So inner cat aggression is a big topic, and it can encompass many different things, and the treatment is specific to the situation. Okay, social status related aggression. This is also known as having a control complex, and sometimes cats just think they are the boss. And this is territorial behavior in a way towards humans, where cats think they're calling the shots, and start acting territorially aggressive towards humans when it comes to access to food or another person, or different resources in the house. So basically, what I recommend in this case is that humans take back that control, and they need to train that cat. And I often recommend clicker training for this, but basically the cat has to work for any kind of resource that they're going to be getting, except for, of course, litter box access, and water. But you're basically going to teach them nothing in life is free. So if you want to be fed, you have to do a command. And you have to work for everything you get, including affection and praise. And it usually doesn't take too long for the cat to realize that, oh, the human is calling the shots here. I can't, I don't control the human. And then of course you can kind of let up on that. The structure after a while, after your cat begins to be a little bit more normal in terms of its interactions with the human it's been trying to control. For handling, you're going to use desensitization and counter conditioning in the same way that I described for petting induced aggression. So there's, again, desensitization and counter conditioning are two ways of really teaching your cat to lessen their fear and also respect boundaries and try to reform positive associations with triggers, other cats, other people in the home. There's one last category of aggression, and this is hormonally mediated aggression. And this is obviously territorial aggression can have a component of this. For example, intact males, particularly between the ages of 2 and 4, when they're going through social maturation, will posture and fight over space or intact females, so for breeding rights. And then on the flip side, mothers will be very protective over kittens as well. And this depends on their lactation status and the proximity of the kittens. But those are two examples of hormonally mediated aggression. Of course, spaying and neutering can greatly reduce these from occurring in both males and females. And then if you're working with a mother who, needs to be with her kittens, you're going to want to lure her away from the kittens for short periods of time with a high value treat or reward so that you can start socializing the kittens. Because if you don't socialize the kittens during those critical weeks of ages 2 weeks to 7 to 9 weeks, then you have cats who are afraid of, for example, men if they're not exposed to men, or cats who don't like to be handled if they didn't get enough handling. So there's a lot of different types of aggression. There's even more, like pain-induced or irritable aggression, and pathophysiological aggression. So feline hyperesthesia syndrome can cause that. That's more of a medical issue. But as you can see, the various types of aggression can really play off of each other, and there aren't a whole lot of cut and dry cases of different, like succinct types of aggression necessarily. Sometimes it's a combination of one form or another. So this week, I want you to think about the questions you might have about feline aggression and send me questions, and I will be happy to answer them. If you need help with body language and determining between aggressive body language versus fearful body language, I can help with that. If you have a situation in your home and you don't know what's going on, send me a question. I will answer that question. So I look forward to interacting with all you guys this week. And again, I'm so happy to be a part of CatCentric's Ask the Expert session. And I look forward to chatting with you soon. Thanks.